This is Rampage Podcast.
After 9 months, Slam Pigs Union Smack is back. Yes, that's right, Matt Tennant. Welcome back to the channel. It's been far too long, my friend, since we've done this, but welcome home. Good to have you back. Where can everyone catch you? All that good stuff.
Thank you very much, Travis, and it is very good to be home. And you can catch me on Twitter at The Perfect Tenant or over at Future of Wrestling Podcast with Logan, where it's just a homecoming everywhere. I'm at home everywhere, Travis, now.
It's like when Hogan debuted at Disney and they had the ticker tape parade for him and Mean Gene was there. I picture you on top of that car posing your muscles. You're coming home. But welcome back, Matt.
You're my Mean Gene.
my very dear, close, personal, longtime friend. One more time, where can everyone catch you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at The Perfect Tenant.
Very good, very good. And as always, follow me on Twitter at the Hibiki TFD. Hit that subscribe right down below. Hit that like as well. We appreciate it. 9 months, man. You know, one thing that's never changed. We could have done this probably 2 years in our little break. There's no UK show still.
That was running through my mind, Travis, when you said, let's review UK Rampage 92. I thought, it's like, fuck all's changed. We've got news. We've got UK news, positive steps forward, but still no concrete show.
WWE wise, as we mean. Now, like, the landscape in British wrestling has changed quite a bit in the last 9 months.
Yes.
In a good way, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, WWE are now looking at a lot more British stars to bring over. Is it just me? Have you heard this rumour that WWE plan to basically do what they did in America in the 80s and sort of not buy out every independent promotion, but they want to set up a performance centre in England for British talent? Now, for me, that's the worst thing they could probably do.
Why not just... Why fix something that isn't broken? Why not just keep having them come over here?
Exactly. I mean, you're taking British stars who would go on to Progress, onto ICW, onto the other various British independent promotions we've got over here, hone their craft like people like Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and Trent Seven did, and then be able to, take what they've learned from all these different places into the rest of the world. You're taking that and you're basically squeezing it into the WWE system and now trying to make British reproductions of your American stars and how they're trained, and I just don't like it.
Let's be real. I get why they're doing it. This whole global dominance kick they're on lately, which isn't going against their favor with the Saudi numbers and all the money they're making already. It's not like they can't afford to set up shop over there. We just talked about it on Slam Pigs this week about how WWE in this global, quote, domination mindset they're in. Look at it like cherry picking a talent. When they did this with the original UK tournament in January last year, it's like they literally took all the top guys, most of them, and like they took the top guy, and Pete Dunne, right?
Yeah.
Then they pulled back. They didn't go over there for a while because it kind of felt like they depleted the talent, but they built themselves back up. Progress has like a new regime. There's new top talent now. It's popular still, but they haven't gone back. And I think they're smart enough to know to only come back at certain times and cherry pick guys and not just set up shop over there. People are so passionate about their wrestling over there. I don't know if that's going to work.
I don't think it will work. I think it'll be met with a lot of, what's the right word? Rejection.
Backlash. Even though that's a nasty word this week.
Yes. Backlash. It'll be met with a lot of resentment, I think. I mean, right now, the waters are okay because British stars know, British stars know. What am I talking about? British audience know that British stars can go to WWE or NXT, but still have a career outside it, like Pete Dunne has. You know, even though Pete Dunne's under a full-time WWE contract now, he can still go and perform elsewhere. But I think if you're just gonna strong arm British wrestlers into the WWE / American way of doing things, it's going to turn a lot of people bitter on the product, and then you're going to lose your audience, and then it defeats what it was meant to do in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. We're going to talk about this later when we review the retro show this week. It's not as you guys aren't as starved anymore for pro wrestling. You have consistent great wrestling over there. Back then, you guys were
Yes.
cheering anything, which we'll get to later. You guys literally were. You were just so, and that was always one of our underlying things for every show we reviewed months ago was that you guys were always happy to see anybody. Didn't matter.
Yes.
It felt like everyone got a good reaction on these, unless you're Dino Bravo and Curtis Mustafa. We'll get there.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, now you've got Progress selling out Wembley, not Wembley Arena. I've got the Wembley Stadium once a year for their biggest shows. You've got ICW traveling around the country selling out, 2,000 seat arenas. The landscape has completely changed, and so I think British wrestling. I mean, arguably, if you've seen a lot of British wrestling, or even if you've just seen a tiny bit, it's a lot better than what WWE's main roster are putting out. So, why would we be as desperate to see WWE? I mean, apart from like the big stars, obviously.
Right.
When when we've got a homegrown product here that is
Why
a
go
lot
to
better in the
a
ring.
show in any country that at the end of the day you're going to pay way more than a good show, and B, it's just going to irritate you and make you upset, as opposed to just going to a show and having a good time and enjoying the booking,
Exactly.
not having to bitch about it. Yeah, exactly. And it's not just the UK. Scotland, Germany, WXW is on fire right now. It's not just the UK. Lots of things have changed. WWE wise, nothing has changed, it feels like. It's only regressed in my eyes since we've last done this show.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean events like Backlash and the Greatest Royal Rumble, and I mean you could arguably name other shows, but
Hate to say it, right now, even with Money in the Bank, one of the more exciting pay-per-views, watching WWE product hasn't felt like a bigger waste of time to me, personally, since 2010 than right now. I felt like Backlash, even before I watched it, even before I saw any of it was going to be a shit fest, which it was, I felt like it was going to be a waste of time. I already wanted to be doing something else, and that's never a good thing to have your consumer feel about your product as a promotion. Ever. Ever.
And that comes down to, I think, Vince's greed, Vince's desire to take over the world. Because in a 3-4 week space, we were given 20 hours of what they're going to define as pay-per-view wrestling. It's too much.
And the most frustrating part about this era right now, especially with WWE, is that they are on straight up autopilot. They don't give two shits about shows like Backlash. If they keep going over to markets that are starved for wrestling, like the Saudi, like the UK was back in the day, who don't know any better, they're going to keep making money hand over fist, and it does not going to matter. And it's going to be nothing but frustrating for us, and we're just going to have to eat shit and smile. It's going to be like fucking 95 all over again. Well, I'm so used to watching it every week, but goddamn if Mabel didn't just win the King of the Ring. Time to roll up my sleeves and get it done. Positive things have happened in the 9 months, especially for your favorite wrestler in the whole goddamn world. That's another thing that hasn't changed. Pete Dunne has a little Pete Dunne now, right?
Yes, well, he will have in November. And congratulations to him and his partner. I just hope, in a selfish aspect, that it doesn't hinder his title run. Like, I hope WWE don't take it off of him and put it on someone else just for that reason. Because honestly, I think Pete Dunne has done more for that title in the last 9 months since we've done this show than the company have. Just off of his own back.
Especially with that clause in his contract where he can compete in other promotions.
Exactly. I mean, if they'd taken that title and put it on anyone else, Seven, Bates, Wolfgang, Andrews, I just think the division and the title would have died a horrible, horrible death. And we wouldn't be sitting here now, Travis, doing this show, because there'd be nothing to look forward to down the line.
I equate the announcement, by the way, which is also kind of big in British news. There's going to be a second UK tournament, but I equate that to when we announced Union Smack was coming back. They tried to steal our thunder and announced the tournament was coming back. So you guys can thank us.
Yeah.
Couple matches have been announced, Matt. Tournament structure. Some rumored guys. Give us the rundown of round 2 UK tournament.
Well, the second annual UK tournament, it'll take place over 2 nights, as the first one did, June the 18th and June the 19th, from the Royal Albert Hall, which has a special connection, Travis, to our next subject on our next episode. It's a weird structure for me because, like last time, they had the tournament held over 2 nights. This time, the tournament is going to be crammed into June the 18th. The whole first night is going to be the entire tournament.
Woof.
Which, yeah. So we're looking at King of the Ring proportions here. We're looking at a good 3.5 hours worth of tournament action. And the winner of the tournament will challenge Pete Dunne on June the 19th, the second night. But on June the 18th, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and Trent Seven will battle the Undisputed Era in the main event, which I'm looking forward to. That's not going to be a bad match, Travis. It doesn't matter if they give it 5 minutes. That is going to be packed with match of the year quality.
That was the biggest difference also from this year's tournament because there has been a commercial about it on NXT TV about co-branded with NXT this time.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's okay, I suppose, because for the star power, a lot of the people who buy tickets to the tournament will be going solely off the back of the partnership with NXT. I think the crowd is going to be split. Half are going to be going to see whatever independent names are announced for the tournament. As yet, we've had none. Half are going to be going because of NXT, and I mean that's fine as long as they use it to their advantage and don't make the UK brand a secondary thing to NXT. It has to be the main thing.
It has to be sprinkled in very sporadically, I think is the word. They kind of did that last time, even though he wasn't official. They called him Tommy End still, but Aleister Black was actually, a lot of people don't even talk about that. Him and Neville worked a match the last tournament, which wasn't bad.
Good match. It was a good match.
Yeah.
I mean, and speaking of the NXT, affiliation, on the second night, on June the 19th, there will be 3 NXT title matches, and they will be the women's title, the North American title. Why defend that in England? I don't get it. And the tag team titles.
I feel like when the ring announcer for the North American title match, right before he goes, it's scheduled for 1 fall for the North American Championship, the people are going to boo the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Just shit all over it. But then Adam Cole's going to come out, they're going to pop again, because fans are fickle.
We are very fickle. I mean, I wouldn't have paced this tournament as they have. I'd have done what they did last time, because it worked well, Like you said, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly. What some rumored guys you think we could see from the indie scene over there?
Well, I've heard a rumor. I sorry, I worked for a wrestling website not so long ago, in between these shows, Travis, and I heard a massive rumor that Joe Coffey, who, if no one's heard of him, he's a Scottish wrestler, very big, very good. He was rumoured to have signed with WWE, but they hadn't announced it yet. So, you can't take it as a green light. But I'm almost 99% sure he will be in the tournament somewhere. I would expect him to be the biggest star of the tournament if he's there. And I would expect him to win it, and I would expect him to go on. Not beat Pete Dunne, because I don't think WWE are ready to put that belt on an unknown star yet. But I would say maybe match of the year. I've seen some Joe Coffey matches, and they're excellent. Other names, I would, if I was WWE, I would bring in BT Gunn just for the night. I know he probably wouldn't leave ICW in the long term. I'd bring in Dave Mastiff, who, if no one's seen him, he's, I think, Earthquake, but shorter and a bit wider.
Okay.
But he can move.
Is he
can
like
move.
Avalanche from WXW?
I've never seen WXW, so I couldn't say. But
I'll show you
say,
pictures later. Oh, they're looking at a picture of him right now, actually, in the episode. There you go.
Well, there you go. I would say he moves like Bam Bam Bigelow, but he's heavier. So, another great wrestler. Big T Justice, who is a Mr. Hughes lookalike for some fucking stupid unknown reason. Another great wrestler. Joe Hendry, Rampage Brown, even El Ligero. I've missed a lot of wrestlers out there, most probably. But, WWE, if they're serious about this tournament and serious about setting up a UK show, they need to attract the biggest UK talent. And I think they go a long way with even half of those names. And I know I've talked a lot, Travis, and I will stop in a second. But I'm also convinced that Joseph Connors will be in there as well from last year's tournament.
Your favorite.
Love Joseph Connors.
I feel like we could definitely see Jordan Devlin again too, since his ties to Balor.
Yeah. But Joseph Connors has been on the European tour in the last 2 days. He fought him. I don't know who he fought, but I know he competed in Belfast.
We know Michael Cole's a goddamn fan of him. He used to go apeshit for him on commentary for the last tournament. It was his pick. It was his Jesus. God, he loved Joseph Connors. I didn't think he was awful. He reminds me in a way of Adam Cole, not just the look, the way he works.
I think Joseph Connors is a mid-card guy in a big promotion. He was big in What Culture Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
But I think you put him on the main stage amongst names like Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and men of that caliber. He's a lifetime mid-carder.
I'm sorry, man. I'm laughing because Asuka's streak was the last streak. But a lot of people don't know there's a new streak. I swear to God, every UK friend of mine who I've brought up, I'm like, yeah, Joseph Connors, all right. They're always pretty much the same response. You know what it is? Hey, I like Joseph Connors. He's not bad. Oh, fuck off. Pretty much. No one over there likes Joseph Connors. You guys hate him. You fucking hate him. What is it about him? I've just always wondered, what is the disdain for this man?
I don't know. I mean, I don't hate him. I don't think he's a bad wrestler. I just don't think he doesn't scream star quality to me,
Or anyone over there, apparently, because
there's some men you look at, Travis, and women, obviously, that you just go, yeah, they're a star. We had it with Pete Dunne last year, even before he stepped in the ring.
Right.
You could look at him and go, he's a star. Tyler Bate, to an extent, he's a star.
Another thing that also happened to play catch up on that is Pete Dunne, when he debuted on 205 Live or Raw, when he came out in England with Enzo. What did you think about that? That's something I've been wondering.
I thought it was a nice little pop for the audience to see not a hometown hero. I'm not getting into the whole hometown thing until next week, Travis. I thought it was nice. It was nice for him to have that stage. It wasn't a bad match. What
did you think of the line they gave Enzo? He called him like a Smurf in a bathing suit. Did that irritate the shit out of you that a heel was saying that? Because if you think about it, I hate to say it, I kind of saw what he was saying. And then that kind of made Pete Dunne seem uncool. I thought that was dumb booking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is WWE, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, it just goes to show that, Pete Dunne, whatever you do with him in the future, and I hope they take him. I wanted him to be NXT champion, but looking at it in the cold light of day, what they've done to men like Bobby Roode when they've called them up from NXT.
I guess that's my receipt.
Pete Dunne should be kept as far away from Vince McMahon as possible for the longest time possible.
Yeah, I completely agree because I can picture. Oh, I hate to be able to say this, but I'm going to do it, Matt. Don't hate me. I can picture Pete Dunne going to Vince backstage, being introduced for him the first time, and Vince says, "Nice to meet you, little girl." Sorry. That's what I picture. Because Vince is, your attitude.
Vince is so behind the times.
Something I didn't know you also brought me up here that's on my sheet. Speaking of promise, in future, Danny Burch has signed official contract.
He has. He's been on a a part-time contract since the tournament in January last year. But yeah, great news that Danny Burch has signed a full-time WWE contract, and he's on NXT, but he reports to the Performance Center now instead of just turning up for tapings and taking the beating. And I hope they do something with him, even if they split him and Oney Lorcan up, because anyone who listened to our our shows last year, Travis, will know I'm a big Danny Burch fan. He's got so much potential, and they wasted it, I think, because obviously they didn't want a part-time guy who didn't, belong to them going over their stars. But now he does sort of belong to them. I hope they either make him a massive heel in the UK division, which would work, or they just do something. My voice is going. Can you hear
it? We got a long way to go, too. That's the price of all the podcasts you've been doing lately, also.
It is. Yeah, I hope they do something with him in NXT.
I got to say, they've also done this since we last done the show. I really have been enjoying the shit out of the team of him and Oney Lorcan. It's been one of my favorite things on NXT. The little underdog team that's like these little...
Yeah.
It's like the new pit bulls or something. Little shit kickers.
I agree. And at least it's something, I saw a lot of backlash when they put in with Oney Lorcan, like, oh, they've got nothing else to do with them. But I think Oney Lorcan's a great worker. Danny Burch is a great worker. I think if you push them right together, they could be NXT Tag Team Champions quite believably.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to see that come full circle, because it started as a feud. That's storytelling at its finest.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Just keep him away from Vince McMahon. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not being biased, because you could say that about every NXT talent right now. Just keep them off of Raw and SmackDown. But I think when you've got actual proper promise in a wrestler, the last thing you want is for him to be given an umbrella and kicked out to fucking stupid music.
Yeah.
Just because he's British, Travis. Just because he's British,
Or dressing like Robin Hood now. Robin Hood tights or whatever the fuck that is. I feel like if they signed Frankie Kazarian, they could book those two as brothers. Because they look so much alike also.
They do look alike.
My God. Other than that, Matt, anything else really going on in the UK news, wrestling-wise? Before we get to some stinkeroos here.
Yes, some promise I say promise, take it with a pinch of salt, because WWE have done this before on a more than regular occasion, but there has been a date or two, I'm led to believe, announced in December in Margate, Kent, which is shithole. Honestly, fuck knows why WWE have booked any dates in Margate. There's so many better places, Travis, to book dates.
Like Sheffield?
Sheffield, Manchester, Birmingham, any fucking Margate. Jesus Christ. Check the wheels on the car before you leave. Yeah, there's been...
So you're telling me if I go to Europe, I don't want to visit that place?
Do not visit Margate. Not unless you've got no, I don't want to be racist, but unless you've got a translation book with you, don't go to Margate.
Well, if you're a listener and you're from Margate, we like you guys, so we appreciate you listening.
Yeah, we love you. The place you live in is a shithole. Sorry to say it. Yeah, they've booked a date or two in Margate, Kent, for what we believe is going to be, a block of tapings for the UK show to start next year. So I'm expecting them, Travis, to do not a live show every week, but to do what they do with NXT and tape, 2 months over a few nights.
Well, we'll see if it pans out.
If it pans out. I mean, they've done this before and cancelled, so I think it all depends on the strength of the numbers the tournament gets next month.
Which I think will be fine. I think people, not just us, we're not the only two people that have been itching for that tournament to come back. It was great. It was executed well. It was handled with class. And in current WWE, that's rare. Unless it's NXT, it seems like.
Unless it's got Triple H's touch on it, then it's... Yeah.
Well, Matt, our boots are laced up. We're backstage. We're sitting there. It's time to get our gimmick bag out. It's what we do best. It's retro review time, Matt. And this time, where are we headed?
We are headed to Sheffield, England, and to UK Rampage 1992, which, before people correct us, it wasn't actually a pay-per-view event. It was just the last date on their 1992 European tour, but they struck a deal with Sky Movies in the UK to show it, which, why? Why show it on a movie channel? You know, we had Sky box office back then. You know, they used to show Survivor Series on it, and SummerSlam and WrestleMania and King of the Ring. So I don't quite understand the partnership with the movie channel, but, you know, they made a big thing of it, and kind of wish they hadn't after revisiting it.
Which is really weird, especially in the 90s on a movie channel, because I've watched the version on the network. You have the DVD of this. There was also a 93 show, so
Yeah.
they put the 2-disc in it. But the version, there was commercials on the movie channel?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We used to have that in the UK. It's got more civilised since then, you know. The whole Sky package, it's non-commercials through movies. But yeah,
See, I'm thinking of it was like an HBO this was on over there. But so this was pretty, it was typical to have commercials on this channel then.
Oh, yeah, even
Oh,
through
okay.
movies.
Gotcha.
You know?
That's weird.
It
That
was-
makes as much sense as putting ECW on Sci-Fi Network. You know?
I know. But yeah, that was the norm over here, I guess, just to pay for the right to show the movies, you know.
Well, these people definitely paid a right in Sheffield this night, and boy, they paid their hard-earned money for some matches. This was the '92 version of Rampage, Sheffield, England. The dark match, going over my notes here, which did not make air on the network any version, even your DVD version, was Alan Kilby and Danny Boy Collins, two World of Sport, pretty famous wrestlers over there from back in the day. Put on the dark match.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got to bear in mind, racking my brain, I can't remember when World of Sport ended, but I'm tempted to say late 80s. I might be right, it might be early 90s. People might have known who they were, but a WWF crowd, I don't think so. You know, I think this match, if we'd have seen it, would have been met with silence.
I'll come clean. I've only just discovered who Big Daddy was in the past couple years and that's one of the biggest British wrestling stars ever.
Yeah. Arguably the biggest.
The biggest, yeah.
Yeah.
That was I know nothing about the match, so we can't really review it. I just thought that was interesting, but that's what the dark match. Because usually back then in '92 it was Shane Douglas and blah 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 or somebody, so half of a tag team. But yeah, Paul Roma, somebody. But the show officially kicked off with Skinner, Steve Kern doing the Mambo number 5 all over the place in this match, and Tatanka. And by the way, for people that this show literally took place right after WrestleMania 8, this tour.
Yeah. About 3 weeks, did they not say?
Yeah, so Tatanka was still in his long white tights, brand new Tatanka at the time. He had just debuted, and you would think he was a seasoned vet in this company, former world champion, because he was treated like Hulk Hogan.
He was. We love Tatanka over here, Travis. Looking back, I'm not quite sure why. I mean, he gets a bad rep, you know, for being a stiff worker, but I don't think he was all that stiff. This match, he wasn't great, don't get me wrong. But on a whole, I don't think Tatanka was as bad as people make out.
Steve Kern. Let's flip the coin real quick. Steve Kern, obviously tag team wrestler, Fabulous Ones with Stan Lane. Just when I was watching this match, because I hadn't watched a Skinner match in a while or seen promos, anything Skinner, it just got me thinking what a fall from fucking grace this was. And we saw that happen, and in a way that's sad because we saw it happen with so many success, Repo Man on this, from the Crusher Khrushchev success in NWA to Demolition to just this. It's why?
Yeah.
What? That speaks to how much talent there was back then too, that you could do that with certain guys.
I mean, I guess, but you know, rewatching it now, it does scream that a lot of them just did a Dolph Ziggler and took the money. You know, took the money while it was there, and I've had a good 20 years, so to hell what they do with me now.
You talk about people, the best at their gimmicks or whatnot, topless. Steve Kern was really good for some reason at this nasty alligator man with the dip all over his beard. I thought he came off kind of vicious in a way he worked. For someone that never really worked a heel style like this with this vicious heel, not like this chicken shit heel when he was a tag team. I thought he did okay. Obviously, it's Skinner, so it's hard to talk serious praise about it, but I'm doing the best I can, man. This match wasn't
Yeah.
okay. I thought this match was kind of the shits. I'll be honest.
I mean, it was. I've noted down it was fine, but nothing special. But what did we expect from Skinner and a fresh Tatanka? You
Yeah.
know, it was a match, Travis. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't the worst match of the night by any means. But again, it's like I said to you on Twitter, it was, they gave us 3 piss breaks in a row on this show, and this was number 1. Before we do move on, does it not strike you now? I mean, it didn't when we were kids because we just ate it up. Does Tatanka not seem like a strange choice to put an undefeated streak on? It's like it's clear to us now he was going nowhere. Like he was never winning any titles. Vince was never going to push him into the main event. So it now seems to me a very strange choice to place an undefeated streak on.
I think it makes more sense to me now when I'm older than I think as a kid it confused me too. It confused me more than it did now. As a kid, I was like, he's not losing, but he never gets a title or a chance. He got like one
Yeah.
title shot against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 9. That's the only shot. But it makes sense now because the WWF, the WWF, had always had that ultra popular Native American type character. Even NWA, Wahoo McDaniel. And yes, they would
Yeah.
hold belts, but they never had to be the top guy. And I think in '92, WWF hadn't had a strong Native American character in a while, and Vince finally brought one back. One that looked a lot better than Strongbow ever did body wise, could work circles around him. I think he just wanted to make an impact with the first Native American character in a while. That's why I think the streak was his title in a way. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get wanting to build a mid card star strong, but I don't know. Looking back now, it just seems a really odd decision when they were better wrestlers.
That's true. That's totally true. And I think another reason why this specific match just rubbed me the wrong way more is because this is what you're kicking the show off with. This 90. I feel like WWE. This is right before WWF started getting with it and catching up with times and kicking off their bigger shows with fast-paced competitive matches of guys you give a shit about, as opposed to Steve Kern and khakis. I it wasn't there. It wasn't a way I want to see a show kicked off. I would have rather the next match kicked off the show because at least you got a squash match, something to laugh at.
Yeah.
Before we get there, I mean the match Tatanka obviously won, defeated Skinner. What would you grade this match? Just okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, just if we're rating it on the scale, I'd give it C minus probably. But
So I'm right there with you.
don't go out of your way to watch it. Is what we're trying to say.
This is a case of I call it Hogan Andre syndrome. If you mute the television, it's going to be way worse because a lot of the crowd heat made this match better seeming, I think, than it really was. This was probably like a D plus at best with the sound off. Because Hogan and Andre with the sound off is terrible. It's a terrible match. There's no emotion. It's just these two men being sloppy and fucking. Speaking of sloppy, it's time for an LOD promo, isn't it?
Yes, it is time for. Were you ever a fan of LOD? I mean,
of course.
I know as a kid. Really?
Yeah.
You see, even as a child, I don't think they were that appealing to me. I mean, I had the figures. They weren't. I didn't hate them. I always seem to remember that I was almost more of a Nasty Boys fan. Maybe I've just always liked the heels, but I don't know.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Demolition because some people that didn't watch NWA, they didn't know Demolition was a Road Warriors ripoff. And yes, I think they're ripoffs. Come at me, people. They were. Get over it. But I think the way they handled Demolition, it ended up being completely different. But originally, it was meant to be a fucking ripoff, is what I'm saying. But some people weren't exposed to LOD, so Demolition was all they knew. So they still prefer that. And I was exposed to Demolition first, but when I saw these guys as a child with fucking spikes on their shoulder, it was like a comic literally coming to life to me. And they were also booked like Supermen, and they just felt they jumped off the screen to me. I think is what it was.
Yes, shame this promo didn't. I mean, they were booked like gods in Crockett Promotions, and
And much
They came
deserved.
to yeah. I mean, they came to WWE with a reputation, and I'd say they lived up to that reputation. I would say, however, I don't think WWE knew how to use them properly.
I think they did. I think the problem was the tag team division was winding down from that glory era of the 80s, and they came in what, the summer of 90. So you had the Harts as the champs. When they came in, eventually Bret was head of the singles. By mid 91, Bret was already an Intercontinental guy. So and Demolition
Hmm.
had broken up by 91, and you're left with Nasty Boys and Natural Disasters and Beverly Brothers and just some bullshit teams. So I think that was a big part of it. I think if they had signed years earlier, we would still be talking about the Bulldogs and the LOD and the WWF would have been amazing. Sorry, it would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, I see that. I just, from my point of view, they came in from NWA where it was grittier, you know. They had that fucking terrible feud with the Skyscrapers, which was
No.
just disgustingly
That
bad.
was that their last actual NWA feud, and then they signed, I think, right?
I think so, yeah.
Well,
I think that was like a middle finger to them for, you want to desert us? Well, fuck you, we're going to give you the
yeah,
Skyscrapers on your way out.
having to work a match with Danny
But
Spivey is definitely a middle finger to anybody. Christ.
and Sid Vicious.
And so,
And let's not forget a very, very green Mark Calloway.
well,
So,
don't. Okay, speaking of those two guys, don't push the button yet because they're right around the corner.
yeah.
This match or the promo, it was nothing. It was an LOD promo. You
Yeah.
know,
I
aside
mean,
from the match, the LOD, their opponents in '92, for some reason, call up Dino Bravo, pal. I need a spot filled. Dino Bravo, with black hair, rocking the '87 gear, his Canadian jacket, and Colonel Mustafa Iron Sheik, who was Slaughter was not. He was a U.S. sympathizer by this. It was advertised as General Adnan, but I guess Adnan got injured or something.
I would have thought so, yeah.
What?
I mean, you've got to be pretty fucking desperate to call up. Basically, you're calling up the Iron Sheik in 1992.
The Beverly Brothers were on the roster, by the way. I'm just saying. I'm
Yeah.
just saying. The Nasty Boys were on the fucking roster. This is what you got. I mean, it was a squash match designed to be that, but CLOD, it's Sheffield, England. This match was lacking so. I know it was the European tour, it wasn't a pay per view, but if you knew you were filming it for some sort of TV, throw some bone in this to the fans.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. And
Mix
I
it
would
up,
have
call an
preferred.
audible. Even if you just found out you're going to be, call a fucking audible. I'm sure the Beverleys were backstage doing cocaine anyway with Davy Boy.
And everyone else, it seemed, on the roster. Bushwhackers, we'll get to them in a bit.
Oh God, yes, we will.
Um,
Iron Sheik cuts a terrible Iron Sheik promo. Gino Bravo like rubbing his shoulders while he's doing this, like laughing at him during the promo. Did you catch that?
yeah. I
When
mean,
your
the look on
partner's not
Dino
even taking you seriously, what does that say?
I mean, the look on Dino Bravo's face was, we're getting paid for this.
Yeah. Let's just get that check and get the fuck out of here, basically. And that's what happened. And as soon
Yeah.
as I saw this team, because I had no clue what the match was going to be, I was like, which one is going to take the Doomsday device? Because I didn't think, you know what I mean? And guess what? Neither one did. It was just Hulk coming off the top rope with the clothesline to the Sheik. I really wish it would have been Sheik and the Doomsday device just to see how Sheik would have landed. It would have been anything better than the match.
I agree. And I would have preferred this match, Travis, to be 2 minutes. I think the match was the shits as it is. But if you'd have cut this down to literally clothesline, power bomb, a makeshift doomsday
that.
device,
Just
done.
even one pose and a punch would have been better than. And by the way, the official
Exactly.
time of this match was 4 minutes 29 seconds. Tatanka and Skinner, you ready? 11 minutes 53 seconds.
Well, there you go. And why? I mean, all right, it went just over 4 minutes. But why did two oddities who didn't belong together, who didn't belong near a fucking wrestling ring in 1992? Let's be honest. Why did they cause? I mean, it wasn't a massive problem, but why did they even have as much offense as they did? It's like you're not building them for anything. Just let them get squashed and let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. Because I do vividly remember Bravo getting some shots in. Not so much
Yeah.
Sheik, but Bravo getting some shit in. He was the world's strong. Wasn't there was a shoulder block test of strength with Animal and Bravo, I think is what it was, and neither one would sell it the first couple times. Like, why are they putting these guys over? I'm right there with you. I totally agree. Should have been a squash match. The next match should have been way more. Should have been on later in the card, in my opinion. Looking back, Jesus Christ, Sid Justice and the Undertaker. Before this,
Jesus.
it's your time. Is it time to whisper, Sid? Talk soft in a promo.
Did you see that? Why am I whispering as well? Did you see the intensity in his eyes? It's like, if he was trained to talk properly, he would have been a fucking wonderful promo guy. Because the intensity on his face and the intensity in his eyes, it's like there's everything there to sell a good promo. It's just the words coming out your mouth are pure horseshit.
Most baffling thing to me, even to this day, even as a kid, out of all the managers available to give a guy who should have a mouthpiece, when you jump off a screen like that, like you just said, looking psychotic, you don't need to talk. Give him a great mouthpiece.
Exactly.
They gave him Harvey Whippleman. Downtown Bruno, whatever you want to call him. I mean, yeah, he's a quote legend, but Jesus Christ, you couldn't just throw Jimmy Hart in at least?
Yeah.
This is exactly why it just couldn't be taken seriously, I think, for me,
Yeah.
at any point. After this was right after WrestleMania 8. Sid was on his way out after this. Also, there was an Undertaker promo. Undertaker, a brand new babyface, growing the mullet out. Standard Undertaker promo. Said a little bit more than he usually did at the time in this promo, though.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a good promo from what we got from The Undertaker at the time. You know, he wasn't a known talker in the business. So I think the things he said, the beginning of it was good. I think it tailed off in the end. I mean, I've noticed it down here. He said, I've followed you across the Great Sea.
Yeah.
And then instead of just saying, your gift is a tombstone. No,
good.
he said, your gift was a tombstone.
It's poetic.
Why couldn't he just have said, your gift is death?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. See, it's because you're a writer, and it irks you why they didn't say that.
Yeah, it does. There's just little things. Just get it fucking right.
They did not get this match right. They didn't get the finish right. They didn't get anything. I mean, Matt? What do you think of this match? It was the shits, flat out.
It was worse. What is worse than the shits? Because
The
we've
squirty
seen
shits.
the shits.
When it squirts out.
This was pure diarrhea. It was two big men who, I mean, let's be fair, didn't really have a clue. Undertaker was still very green in 1992. He was still finding his feet with the character. He was finding his feet as a babyface. Just suddenly switched from a heel.
And that's another thing, that's because he was a brand new babyface. Out of all the reactions, the babyfaces, they all got insane reactions. The crowd was iffy at first on Taker's, but by the end of the match, they were fully invested. But he was still brand new, and I think a lot of his work rate is what made him a babyface. Just the gimmick part of it, the sitting up, obviously, and
yeah, I agree. I think you could have probably made this a tag team match, Travis. If you absolutely had to have this. And I mean, Vince was obviously, he thought Sid, Undertaker, massive erection, quite obviously. But if you had to have them fight in any shape or form, you should put two fucking people who can go in there with them.
Natural disasters, somebody. That would have been a big
anyone, one on each side. Just so that they can do their 2 minutes worth of big man spots. And then just leave the rest of the match to someone who can handle it.
Yeah, and especially if the match, which it did here, led to a count out. You got a guy coming off of main eventing WrestleMania with Hogan. He got his heel heat after the count out, right? Like, he beat the shit out of Taker. Eventually, Taker was. But my thing is, why not just let him use a weapon or something and let him get DQ'd instead of a count out? That way, he has even more heel heat to begin. Instead of just a waste of time, a count out, which was standard fare back then. But just there's so much more they could have done with it. After the match, Sid attacked Undertaker, beat his ass down, started the pose. Obviously, Undertaker sat up, gave Sid the tombstone pile driver in 92, the strongest move in the world, Sid. Then, not even 30 seconds later, when Taker was posing and the crowd was still cheering for the move, just sat up and rolled out of the fucking ring like nothing happened. He just got out of there. Got the fuck out of there, got his money and went home. Last day of the tour match.
Yeah, that was Sid, wasn't it? Did Sid ever sell anything in his entire career? I'm struggling, Travis, to look back and think that was a really good sell job by Sid.
No.
Even in his matches with like Shawn Michaels, where there was ample opportunity to sell, and that was what 4 years later.
Yeah. I think
There was nothing.
And by the way, this Taker Sid match made their match at WrestleMania 13 look like done and bait. I think he sold for Taker way better in that match than this match.
Yeah.
He kind of had to since he was eating the pin, but still, I think he sold for Taker.
I don't know. I mean, Sid was one of my favourite faces when I was a kid. You know, his whole stint with Shawn Michaels was arguably the best of his career. I mean, I can't think of anything that topped that he ever did. But looking back now, you know, with adult eyes on, fuck, he was poor.
Yeah.
What
Really
what
was.
a poor choice of talent to hire.
It was all aesthetic. It was all look was Sid. The perfect look. What
Yeah.
$1 million body mat? 10-cent brain. And Sid,
And
if
I
you want to
get,
be a guest, by all means, we'll have you on and we'll flip the script. But for now, that's what I'm saying.
come on, Sid, and we will love you.
Believe it or not, Matt, this next match is actually something I have seen from. Well, was the Bushwhackers segment next? It was
No,
somewhere.
the WWF Championship match was next.
Okay.
Thank God. After 3 very, very poor matches, we could finally settle into something that was worth the price of admission.
Hot off the heels of his big win at WrestleMania 8,
Mm-hmm.
Randy Savage defending against Shawn Michaels, 92, baby fat Shawn Michaels. This match was on the first Randy Savage DVD that WWE did. This match was on there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
never knew this match happened. And when I saw that at the time, I was like, wow, that's going to be awesome. To be honest, on that compilation, what it's surrounded by, it doesn't stand out. But on this card, it's Steamboat and Savage. And I studied a lot because when you have a card with a lot of shitty matches, just like Backlash was this Sunday, I feel like it gives you a chance to take those 1 or 2 matches and analyze them even more. And I studied the psychology of this match. And looking back now, we've seen Lanny Poffo come out after, Randy obviously passed away and stuff. He said that Savage, one of the big reasons he left at the time, he always wanted to do like a 2-year program with Shawn Michaels because he loved working the guy. And I feel like this was the match or the tour where the seed was planted in Randy Savage. Like this guy's going to be the future. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
it showed. And I thought they worked tremendously together in this match. And shout out to even Elizabeth in this match, who wasn't known for like her mannerisms at ringside or getting involved. I thought she did her job well. I thought Sherry was always great. Even if Sherry was in Savage's corner or against him, those two always did well together, had chemistry. I just thought the structure of the match. Randy Savage getting the pin with a cross body, by the way. Steamboat said
Yeah.
that.
I thought that was a bit of a flat end to the match.
I really
but
enjoyed this. This was my match of the night, Matt, and I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to give it like an 8.5. High.
Yeah, but look at the card it was on. I mean, it was a good. Don't get me wrong, good match. Very technically sound match, but it didn't have any competition. You know, it was this could have come out and been. This could have been the shits as well, but because of who was in it, it was always going to be better, whatever they did, than everything else on this card.
And look, I know back then, especially in '92, that Davey Boy Smith was like your guy's Jesus Christ when WWF came over there. But
Yeah.
it's asinine that IRS and Bulldog closed the show, and it's crazy how much WWF pandered to you guys with Bulldog on the card back then. Like, we're kissing. You gotta love us now. We put Davey in the main event. It's just kind of cringe how they always did that in a way.
It was every time they came over here. It was like Battle at the Royal Albert Hall, European Rampage, SummerSlam '92. That happened.
This card though, this may be the worst case that they've ever done with Davey Boy Smith and just shoehorning him in the main event for the sake of being in England with IRS.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. This match though, Matt, like you were saying, your thoughts on it. Do you think? Obviously, I think the route you're going is with better matches. This would probably be as high rated.
Yeah. I mean, I've also seen better matches with both of them. You remember the old Coliseum videos, Travis, that we used to feast on as kids. I'm sure, and don't ask me where it was, but I'm sure it was another. It was either Wrestling Challenge or another European tour where they had a really, really good match. Like, it was twice as long. Savage sold the leg twice as well. Michaels looked a fucking $1 million. And not that, none of that happened here. I think it just happened to a greater extent elsewhere.
This is like a wrestling oasis, you could say. A match that seems better than it really is.
Yes.
Because it's surrounded by a dry, bullshit desert of matches like the Mountie and Virgil. You follow this up, you shoehorn it on the middle of the card, and you follow it up with Jacques Rougeau and fucking Virgil. Wow. Wow. Thoughts?
I mean, you can do nothing but agree, really, can't you? This should have been the main event, but like they wanted to pander to a British crowd, and I think maybe part of it was, someone in the back looking at the card and going, "We've got this mountain of shit. Will fans really, keep invested until the end if we put this on last?" Maybe there was a bit of that in it, Travis. Maybe I'm being hopeful, looking at it that way. That they wanted to liven the audience up in the middle of the card for what was to come.
Unfortunately, the reality is it's 92 WWF, and the Mountie just got off the heels of an IC title run. He was still trying to be taken serious as a heel. That's the reality. It was WWF in 92. Terrible gimmicks, and this was a case where with so many terrible gimmicks on a roster, you're going to have matches like this, which... The Virgil promo, I know we reviewed some shitty ones before SummerSlam 92. This wasn't bad. This wasn't...
It wasn't.
Honestly, if this would have led to Virgil getting the underdog win, I wouldn't have hated this so much.
That is true, but can I just stop you there, Travis? Because before the Virgil promo, it was the Bushwhackers.
No, apologies. We got to talk about this.
Yes, we do. And my first question isn't going to be, why did they take about a week to get to Sean Mooney on the platform?
Because they were too busy licking 70,000 people in the crowd. Could you imagine people doing that in 2018? The outcry and just the blasphemy, people would be up in arms.
Yeah, just licking random children in the audience.
Gotta be honest.
Did you catch that moment where I think it was Luke walked past this little fat kid, let's say, in a yellow shirt, and he was going to lick him, and he sort of looked at him and went, "Oh no," and pulled back.
No, I don't remember that.
Did you not catch that?
No.
Like, there's something wrong with you when even a bushwhacker doesn't want to lick you.
And look, I'll be honest. If a bushwhacker licked one of my kids, I'd kind of be fucking pissed too. People were just so happy to have wrestling. Here, lick my goddamn kid. Get in there and work a match. But they didn't even work a match. They swerved them. They just did an interview.
Yeah. And what the fuck was Butch on during this interview?
Ugh.
Like, how many lines has he sniffed off Sherry Martel's ass before he came out?
The answer's 3.
Well, there you go.
And this was like, I remember the Bushwhackers doing a promo at WrestleMania 5 with Sean Mooney after their match, and it's like literally the same exact promo. By the end of it, they licked Sean Mooney and put a Bushwhackers hat on him in that too.
Yeah.
It's a case of deja vu. I've been here, I've done this, I've seen this.
It's just rinse and repeat, wasn't it, at that point?
But the 92, the Bushwhackers were right on their way out. Not too long after, SummerSlam that year?
Yeah. But still incredibly popular for what? Like, they weren't anything in the ring. They were... Basically, the whole thing that got them over was the licking and the friendly foreign idiots.
They're like two... Their gimmick was like they're dogs. They're 2 dogs who don't know any better. They lick people and they're dumb as shit. Yeah, they hurt each other to win matches. 2 dogs. And it's crazy. They were the Sheep Herders, one of the craziest heel teams ever to go from that. But they took the money, like we said. And sneak peek, my buddy Drew Ortman, who I do Never Drew a Dime with, Matt, my co-host on there, he has on his wrestling website starting some new show ideas. And one of them I'm going to be on a series called It Shouldn't Have Worked, pretty much, where we take gimmicks that shouldn't have worked. And our first episode is going to be The Undertaker. And they did work. And the Bushwhackers definitely have to be one of those gimmicks. It shouldn't have worked, but it did for some goddamn reason. You're right.
It did. And I dread to think, Travis, how much money the Bushwhackers made. It's a travesty. It's a fucking travesty how much these people made for no discernible talent whatsoever.
Why do you got to use my name and the Bushwhackers in the same sentence?
The secret third member, come on. Same hairdo.
Let's get. How dare you? Let's get too legit to quit now. Finally, the Virgil promo, like I was saying, not that bad. If Virgil would have got the underdog win here, I wouldn't have hated it so much. But it was just the Mountie by the end of it, cheating and winning for no reason.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I see where they were going with the Mountie. Like, they wanted to build him up. What would Virgil have got out of this in '92?
Nothing.
You know, he was well on his way to a jobber to the stars.
He was already there. Let's be real. The only thing he ever did was the DiBiase stuff, and then it was just basically.
I mean, I was surprised how bad this match was, because I mean, I know you could look at a Virgil match, any Virgil match, and say it's never going to be good, but I really thought, and I do still believe to a point, that Jacques Rougeau is a very, very good technical wrestler. You know, whether he's a tag team or a singles guy, but it felt like Virgil infected him with crap. You know, it's like he touched Virgil and his ability to carry an opponent or do anything of note just dissolved in that moment.
It could have also been, like, because it's a different gimmick, they wouldn't let him work the style like he was a Rougeau. Like, he's supposed to be a tough Mountie now, so you got to be more of a tough heel. So, two things, by the way, that we failed to mention on this show that we need to address before I forget. The ring announcer is that lady from all the Superstar shows with that long with the tailcoat on her tux.
Mike McGurrick.
Yep, her, who ended up suing, and Jimmy Hart's no fucks given attitude about wearing a WrestleMania 8 jacket, the same one he wore at WrestleMania 8 throughout the entire show. Fuck you, Sheffield. No custom jacket for you. Love it.
He wasn't going to pay to entertain them limeys. Like, fuck you. I'm going to wear what I wore to WrestleMania 8, and you're going to love it.
I popped so hard when I saw it. I popped, man. I was like, way to go, Jimmy. Stand up for yourself. How? Because he paid for those jackets to have them custom. Yeah. Like, fuck Sheffield.
Basically. Like, he wasn't going to pay for a... And when you think about it, Travis, it's not like this was meant to be a massive event that he was going to get a custom jacket for. This was just I
bet he wore it the whole tour too.
Yeah. Can you imagine paying like $2,000 for a jacket for every fucking country or every town you go and perform in?
I mean, Ric Flair, you know, he paid like $10,000 a robe, but not like, because Jimmy Hart's would always be different for what match or guy he was with. It's way more than Flair robes. Flair only had to buy a couple.
Yeah.
We're almost done, Matt, though. What happened next after? I don't want to talk about this match anymore.
Mountie won, if anyone cares.
Nobody.
No. Why are you crapping all over my thunder? It's like, I'm on a roll. We're back after 9 months. No one cares. Right, next. What the fuck was next? It'd be good if I could discern my handwriting, wouldn't it? Oh, yeah. Rick Martel and Bret Hart for the Intercontinental title. And can I just say, before this match, Sean Mooney interviewed Rick Martel, and it might have been my eyes. Don't think it was. He was shaking like a shitting dog.
I mean, he just got licked by the Bushwhackers.
No, Rick Martel.
Oh, Rick Martel. I thought you meant Sean Mooney.
No, Sean Mooney was full of it.
Maybe
I'm pretty sure those. I don't. He looked really nervous, and he kept laughing after the end of every sentence.
He had a brand new arrogance spray too, a new atomizer, bigger one.
I mean, I love Rick Martel. Like, I think he's one of the most underrated talents of all time. But here, it's just, not good.
Interesting choice too, in a way that, like we said again, just make this feel more special. That this would be the IC title guy. I mean, you could have even done Sid and Bret. That would, and, Sid, gets disqualified for hitting him with a weapon, getting frustrated. That just shows how dumb Sid would be too in a title match, which is fitting.
Yeah, that would have been much better. I believe Martel could have probably given the Undertaker a better match as well.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, you could just flip that.
But Travis, this is WWE. They have one idea and they stick to it. We know that.
I will say one thing about this match. A whole lot of pink going on. Bret Hart.
Yes. That's the first thing I wrote down. A lot of pink.
It
Great minds think alike.
the match could have been so much more. I also equate a lot of this too, man. I don't mean to keep using the word equate. I'll stop. This is the end of the tour. Maybe these guys were just spent too.
Yeah, yeah, mate. They definitely phoned it in. And again, Travis, like we've seen better matches from both of them on Coliseum videos. I'm pretty sure there's a Bret Hart Martel match on Bret's first DVD release that is much better than this.
Yeah, I believe so with Rick Martel. The match, nothing. That's the thing. Nothing really stands out. It's just a paint by numbers phone in match, like you said, with Bret Hart getting the win.
Yeah,
Crowd. Obviously, this was before SummerSlam '92. That Bret with the IC title beating Piper. Crowd was totally into Bret. Bret was red hot. Bret in his prime. What can you say? But just the match, something was definitely off and missing.
yeah. I mean, like you say, it was probably fatigue. They'd done night after night, city after city, country after country. Fresh off WrestleMania. I just think it was probably if they'd have just come over for this one show, had no more, no more house shows in Europe, I think this would have been match of the night. But I just think it was like last night of the tour.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck anymore. Let's just do a job and go home.
Could have seen much bigger names too. Guys like Piper, Papa Shango were missing. Piper, I think, was done after 8, except for that bagpipe appearance in '92. But something
Yeah.
we have not also addressed too. He just came back. No Ultimate Warrior on this entire show. Nowhere.
He was obviously too expensive, wasn't
You think? Jeez.
he?
And I
Yeah.
feel like if this wasn't a tour and a one show, he would have been on it, like you said. Bigger names.
Yes. I think he probably held Vince up for a lot of money to do very little.
Yeah.
You'd have had to pay the Warrior to do every European tour. Not every European tour. What the fuck am I talking about? To do every show on that tour. And I just think Vince wasn't willing to hand out that much cash.
More than likely. Because wasn't the WWF failing? Like, it was airing at the time, but it was a flop from, like, out of the gate. In '92 also, it seemed like by the end of it, Vince was starting to that period of, obviously the steroid charge, but just losing money left and right. And quite frankly,
Yeah.
didn't want to afford a guy like a Warrior. He probably didn't like the Warrior. Didn't see the investment anymore.
And let's be honest, if he'd have paid the Warrior, I don't know, 200 grand more than everyone else to do this tour, would it have added to the quality? I don't think it would have.
No, it would have been a slop fest. It would have been botchy, and we would have been making fun of it right now if there would be a match, probably.
Exactly. And what would he be paying 2 grand for? I mean, let's be honest, Travis. Warrior wouldn't have worked a 15-minute match. It'd have come in, it'd have done 3 minutes, it'd have done his spots off the rope, shoulder block, splash, out of there to score cocaine or whatever.
They would have switched out to Tatanka with Warrior, probably, because you don't, God forbid, you take the Bulldog seat, you open the show with Warrior to get the crowd going.
Yeah.
Another thing, Bret Hart and Rick Martel went 13 minutes 2 seconds, second longest match of the night, and the other long match is the Bulldog and IRS. We'll get to in a little bit. Went 12 minutes. That was a lot of time too. This is just dragged for me. Could have been more, like we said. I wouldn't say go out of your way to watch this Bret match. There's a lot better Bret matches.
Yeah, a lot better. And I mean, we could say that for the whole show, Travis. But looking at the card as it was the second best match on the card, even though nothing happened.
Exactly. Where did that take us to next, Matt? And I think it's a gross promo from Jim Duggan.
Yes, it's Jim Duggan in his 2x4 with Lord Alfred Hayes, of all people, and he didn't even have Hayes on commentary or in the ring in front of his people. Just stick him in a locker room. I'm convinced these promos were all taped in America before they came on the tour.
Probably.
So Hayes probably wasn't even present in England when they were there.
Couldn't be bothered. It was Sheffield. He was not going there.
Oh, I know Sheffield. I'm not going back there again.
The reason I say it's gross, guys, if you hadn't seen it, is Lord Alfred Hayes standing there by himself at the opening of this. All of a sudden, you see they're in a locker room, and around the corner comes a sweaty Jim Duggan, and it Lord Alfred Hayes greets him, says welcome. Jim Duggan initially, first part of the promo says, "Oh, sorry, Alfred, I was busy working up a sweat," and then just changes and moves on and doesn't address it again. What the fuck? What? Thoughts,
Oh
Matt?
God, I know. It was typical Jim Duggan promo, and I think that's probably the best you can say about it. Do you think they ever gave Jim Duggan a script
No.
at all?
I think he really was masturbating behind that corner. No, I think that was legit. I don't. That was it. Just took me back. I laughed so hard when that happened because they never went back to it, and it left me wondering what was he doing. And that shouldn't have been what I was wondering by the end of the promo.
It was either that or he was taking a gigantic shit.
Ew, sweaty shit. That's even more disgusting, maybe. Because when you sweat, okay, that's a whole other show. But yeah,
How did we get here? How did it become this?
it gets even shittier. His opponent, Matt.
The Repo Man.
No way either one of us could have said that with straight face, even if there wasn't a shit joke before. The Repo Man versus Jim Duggan. Where do I begin? Where the fuck do I begin? What?
I mean, thankfully it didn't last that long. It could have been worse, Travis, in that this could have been 15 minutes of Jim Duggan marching around ringside, going ho and getting a USA chant from a UK crowd.
Well, I didn't
Why
want to
am
go
I
there
even
first because you know
laughing?
my thoughts on that. He kept chanting USA, which at first I thought maybe he just won't chant it. No, he did, and you guys went along with it. You took the bait every time. I guess you viewed it as an allied powers sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like that's how I thought it by the end, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're putting too much thought into that, Travis. I just think we were happy to go along with whatever. You know, it was like, oh, we've seen it on TV. That's what you do.
This finish of the match with the Repo Man getting disqualified using his hook against, because the match, there's nothing to critique. It's exactly what you think it would be. Jim Duggan spots, Repo Man being creepy. But he hit him with
Yeah.
the hook right and got disqualified, started choking him. This should have been the finish to the Sid match. This should have been your double countout match.
Yeah, it was topsy-turvy booking. But I think for some reason, they were so high on Jim Duggan, even in '92, that, I mean, it didn't even have a little thing with Yokozuna, like, soon after this in '93.
Yeah, yeah. Because at
I
SummerSlam
mean,
'92, he was like a dark 6-man tag match they'd air on Primetime
yeah.
Wrestling, right?
And then he had that angle with Yokozuna.
Yep.
Or I think it was Wrestling Challenge or something, when he just wouldn't stop Banzai dropping him.
Yeah, and then they wrote him off TV for a while, and he came back as like a singlet, a different look. I remember.
Yeah.
Because then he had the
Didn't he get
action
busted?
figure for that
Didn't he
thing.
get busted for drugs during that time?
I know either maybe in '93 he left because he had a cancer scare. You know, he beat cancer, obviously. One of the times he
Yeah.
left because of health reasons. But
And another time he was pulled over with the Iron Sheik.
it's well, that was like '87. That's when he first came in. But I remember the singlet. It's literally like a Kurt Angle singlet. So it's like he's cosplaying as Kurt Angle in '93. Go back.
God. Oh, I want to know, and I'd be interested if anyone's listening to this who actually got Jim Duggan's appeal. I'd like to know why and what it was, because I didn't. Was
I thought
was I a strange child, Travis? Like, I didn't get, or I didn't jump on the bandwagon of men like Jim Duggan, even though I was probably meant to, and you know he was booked for that purpose.
right. Right. I don't know what it is. The big dumbfounded oaf who stumbles his way into victory more times than he should, kind of thing. Like you're right, and like I don't think I loved Duggan as a kid. He was kind of like a big boss man. Like, oh, cool, he's a good guy, and but he's not
Yeah,
my favorite. But some people went ape shit for Duggan. I remember, like,
and
yeah,
I don't know why. Even in, I mean, Bookers. Like, I know Duggan was a lot better in Mid South than he was when he came up to WWE. Perhaps that had something to do with it, you
oh, he was
know?
booked like Hogan, also.
Yeah. Perhaps he brought some of that audience with him, maybe, and they infected the rest of, you know, the WWE's fan base. But even if that was the case, what was the excuse for putting the United States title on him in WCW?
Oh, that was just name value. That's what that was. To
Yeah, I guess you're right.
establish that company with ex-WWE guys for credibility in their eyes. But yeah, Duggan, well, God. Should have been Savage. I mean, you have Hogan at 1 and Savage at 2 if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
But the one visual of the Repo Man with Jim Duggan, that visual of his face when they zoom in on Duggan being choked, who by the time this is great, and by the time this is over, Duggan had slipped out, found his board, like put his hand up on the apron and couldn't find it at first. And that was like the. But he finally, then he chased Repo Man, and that was the spot, and then he pandered to the crowd again, and go home, Duggan.
Yes.
You're done.
Done. And that brought us, Travis, onto the British Bulldog promo, and our new segment on Union Smack. What the fuck with the British Bulldog on this week?
What drug is he? And this week, Matt, my money's on Davey being all perked up. It's the end of the tour. His body's sore. He's slurring his words a little bit, but he's not coming off drunk. He's on some painkillers. That's my vote.
Yeah, he's on quite a few painkillers because he didn't look like he knew what day it was, let alone what he was meant to be doing.
He's on so many perks here. He almost slipped up and thought he was in Ireland. He forgot he was even in his home country. His eyes were really glassy in this, and this was not a good promo. Davey never a good promo, but here definitely just
yeah.
Kept repeating himself. The British Bulldog way, the way.
You wait, Track. Can I just say, you wait until you sit and watch Battle at the Royal Albert Hall and his promo with Mean Gene.
Spoiler alert, guys. There it is. That's where we're headed next.
Yes, we are. Yeah, and that brought us on to the main event. And I use that term loosely because it was just a pandering, really. It wasn't a main event.
It felt like an autograph signing. Like the first 5 minutes of this just felt like an appearance. You know what I mean? Like because it was IRS, by the way, was in the main event. Finally, he made it. I know, right? He was already completely covered in sweat. IRS, one of the sweatiest wrestlers of all time, in my opinion. You could already see through his shirt. He was nervous to have that top spot. Coming out, cutting a promo on and that was also in the Davey Boy promo, by the way. I don't know if you thought that was funny. He's like, the British people, they pay the taxes. Is that not accurate?
In Sheffield, no.
Sorry, IRS Sheffield. Though, IRS coming out cutting a promo on the people for paying their taxes. Standard IRS, and then the music hits. People are on their feet. Here, I've waited all show. I can't take it anymore. I know it's tradition. The horns in the crowd, Matt. The whole show. And these were always relevant in any UK show, still are. But for this match, they didn't stop. They didn't stop. And this got like a stop with the guys in the match who stopped and took it in. I never really saw this before, like Hogan and Rock. This was the first Hogan and Rock, IRS and Bulldog. They stood and were in awe of the people not stopping the different trumpets.
I mean, part of me, the cynical part of me thinks that they were that sort of, oh my God, this reception just for us. But usually horns in a UK event a lot of the time mean boredom, and the fans just tag their own little chant onto the end. You know, just because they were chanting Bulldog at the end, with a British crowd doesn't necessarily mean that they were, into it or caring.
The match, though, I mean, woof, nothing. It was just Davey got some shit and took some rest holds from IRS, and then I remember IRS hitting his finisher, the write-off, but not even capitalizing for the pin.
It wasn't even allowed to pin Davey Boy.
No. If his shoulders even hit the mat, IRS would have got fired on the spot. That's how I feel.
You think?
There would have been riots.
I think it's fair to say that Davey Boy was very much the British Hulk Hogan.
Without a doubt. And I was a huge British Bulldog fan as a kid, and like a dream team of mine who with my he was cool to me, especially with this hairstyle, which Bobby Heenan on commentary just ragged on the entire time, which was great.
Yeah.
I really liked him with like this hairstyle and shit as a kid. I don't know why. I just thought he was cool, and I always wanted like him and Hogan to team up, but it never happened.
Hogan wouldn't have lowered himself.
No.
Can you imagine?
This
someone
guy's,
more popular than him in
hey,
the.
hey brother, that guy's 5'11", dude. Not doing it, man. He would have never. How
Yeah,
forbid Hawk do that? Jeez.
yeah, he wouldn't have done it. No way.
But
There's
yeah,
nothing in it for.
he
There
was
was nothing in it
always
for him.
Bulldog was literally, dude, always one of my favorite guys as a kid. It's just when you go back now, it's the case we were talking about earlier. That shit promo, just even here, his body was all stiff from the steroid abuse. The work rate wasn't the best. Got to be honest.
No, no, it wasn't. And it's something I've noted for next week, but I think I'll bring it up now. Is that if you go back through his career, his best matches were always against men like Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels, who you know what I mean, who could carry him and who were better in the ring.
Exactly.
I mean, I love the Bulldog, of course I do. He's a national hero. He should be in the Hall of Fame, Vince, if you've been listening. But he wasn't that great a wrestler. You know, he just wasn't.
He he was a great athlete. I don't think he was a great worker. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because
he
even
was a
in
great
like
athlete.
yeah, even in like '96, he would do that little flip thing to taunt the crowd. You know what I mean? When he was a heel.
Oh yeah, his match with Owen Hart, the European Championship tournament, the final, where he won the European title.
Yeah.
Fucking great match. Even for someone who's been, smashed off his face for the best part of 7 years, still a great
But
match.
like you just
There was
said, what's the key word in that match?
Owen
Owen Hart.
Hart.
Exactly. Exactly. James. This match, though, like we said, nothing to write home about. We're definitely getting to more Bulldog next week. And by all means, and I totally agree, just the fact that British Bulldog was so over in his home country and just could go out there and stand there and get that reaction is Hall of Fame worthy alone. There's no
Yeah,
reason he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame still. You know what I mean? I still
exactly.
feel like he was a draw there, of course, but in his younger days, a hell of a worker as opposed to what we would see in the future. Even guys like Sting and Vader in WCW couldn't carry him to good matches by this point because of the abuse on his body,
No,
quite frankly.
exactly. And he's done more in wrestling, Travis, than some Hall of Fame inductees in recent years. You know, titles and he's part of the Hart Foundation. Excellent tag team with Owen Hart in '96, end of '95. He deserves to be there. And there's even a campaign out there to put Bulldog in the Hall of Fame. Not that Vince will take any fucking notice of it, but
Sometimes I want to think too that like they're gonna run out of guys eventually if they don't slow down. That like that's a guy they want to induct. They're just holding off on. I think maybe. I want to think,
yeah.
but probably
I
not.
mean, I know they don't like to induct more than one deceased wrestler a year,
Yeah.
and they like because they like them to turn up but surely if there was ever a candidate of someone who absolutely should be in there, him and Owen Hart are top of the list.
Do you think they go in the same class? Would you do it that way?
Do you know what? I think the only way right now I see either is if they induct the Hart Foundation as a group.
Yeah. Pillman and all this.
Put Pillman in as well, for fuck's sake.
I think that, dare I say, and I know it sucks because I want to see him go on as a solo. That might be the only way they'd induct Pillman, just because of how controversial he was. Maybe because of their PR
Yeah,
bullshit as of late, they don't want people digging up facts about Pillman.
yeah. But I also think if you induct the Hart Foundation as a whole, you might lose Pillman and the Bulldog because there's no doubt in my mind that induction would be all centered around Owen Hart. Because let's be honest, it's the only chance you're probably ever going to get.
Exactly. Exactly. Guys, and I know it's good to be back, man, by the way. We've gone over an hour.
It
Great
is.
show so far. But, shocker, take a wild guess who won the main event, Matt.
Would it be the Bulldog?
You're right! You're right, the British Bulldog! To no one's fucking surprise won the match. And that was it. That was European Rampage 92. First of two parts. 93 is next. We're going to get there down the road, just not next week, guys. We'll get there.
Yeah.
What did you think as a show overall, man?
Honestly, Travis, there are some shows I watch where I feel enriched as a fan. Like, I've took something away. The only thing I took away from this is that I feel like I know less things now. Like, I've dropped a few IQ points watching this.
Yeah. I feel cheated in a way, a lot of this show. It's that feeling.
Yeah.
And I also feel like if I'm ever a wrestling promoter, I'm never going to allow Jim Duggan in my locker room. I've learned that after watching this show. You know who I'm always going to let in my locker room? It's one more time. It's good to have you back home. It's great to do this again, Matt. We're back, Union
Yeah.
Smack. Where can everyone catch you? All that good stuff. And please, by all means, promote your book, which you forgot to do at the beginning of the show.
Yes, only because I'm halfway through editing it and it feels like it's never going to get done. But I will. You can find me on Twitter at The Perfect Tenant. You can find me over on Future of Wrestling Podcast with Logan anytime. And you can pretty soon buy my Undertaker book, A Trip Down Death Valley. Forward by Wrestling Days. Special introduction by my good friend Travis here.
You sound thrilled about it. I'm just kidding. No, I'm really excited to be writing the introduction. Thank you again for asking me. I'm really excited.
Pleasure.
This has also been a pleasure. Matt, I will talk to you. Tomorrow's Logan's birthday bash, and we're recording this, by the way, so that's going to be fun. Talk to you then.
Yeah.
But until then, my friend, I'll talk to you next week when Union Smack. It's good to be
Absolutely.
back, man. What can you say?
And it's good to be back home, Travis.
Tip of the hat, sir.
Yes.
I'm doing another Mega Powers handshake, but you can't see it because you're across the ocean.
I'll feel it.
The Union Smack Boys are back. Until next week, one more time, follow me on Twitter at the Hibiki TMD. Hit that subscribe right down below this. The reset button never drew a dime. All the goodness. Until next week. Cheerio, mates.